Anyway, Trump signed an executive order stating that there are only two genders. Two, male and female. And since we love Bridget Fedesi, we decided to react to her video on it because she's been speaking out against the whole trans thing, stepping on women's rights for a long time. And so,
Trump signed a multitude of executive orders immediately following his inauguration on January 20th. One of the most controversial, and my favorite, is titled Defending Women from Gender Ideology, Extremism, and Restoring Biological Truth to the Federal Government. Welcome to Dumpster Fire, where we make burgers out of your sacred cows. And if your sacred cow was trans women or women, well, sucks to be you. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, this is truly the age of Fedesi. Fedesi is a word I made up in 2000, and it means when reality becomes parody. Either way, it means beyond parody, which has now become the world we live in. And it is truly beyond parody that the pussy-wearing hat crowd has abandoned women, and Mr. Grab 'em by the pussy himself has turned out to be the ultimate defender of women. Do you realize how hilarious that is? Patriarchy so crafty they convince women to turn on women, other women, and let men into women's spaces. And the patriarchy is also so crafty, it takes a man to get this shit done and get these men out of women's spaces. Now we have an executive order, but the whole thing is so well written and so clear. Section 1, purpose. Across the country, ideologues who deny the biological reality of sex have increasingly used legal and other socially coercive means to permit men to self-identify as women and gain access to intimate single-sex spaces and activities designed for women, from women's domestic abuse shelters to women's workplace showers. This is wrong.
And yet somehow the women who were wearing the pussy hats back in the day are now the ones who've been pushing for this.
And it's been happening. It's been happening so often that you have to make a law to stop it.
In order to protect women, you have to be crazy to look at a man who says he's a woman, who obviously most of them don't pass, and be like, yeah, you have a right to our spaces.
There's compassion to a point where you kill yourself.
Societal empathy, yeah. And for what? To look good to the crazy people?
I don't know.
It is wrong. You have abandoned women. And it's not because we're resentful or mad. It's because we have a right to our own spaces. Accordingly, my administration will defend women's rights and protect freedom of conscience by using clear and accurate language and policies that recognize women are biologically female and men are biologically male. And they go on to explain, gender ideology replaces the biological category of sex with an ever-shifting concept of self-assessed gender identity, permitting the false claim that males can identify as and thus become women and vice versa, and requiring all institutions of society to regard this false claim as true.
Now that's how crazy America has become, to where that was accepted for years. A self-assessed gender identity, not based in reality whatsoever. Someone who is self-assessing who they are can just take over women's rights if they want to. Now, how do you write laws that are based off of someone's self-assessment? They did it, which is crazy because it's not, you're writing laws that aren't based in reality and you're forcing other people to adhere to it based on what someone else thinks they are. This fucking crazy. Could you imagine if they did that with anything else? Like, I'm not a criminal. I didn't break into your house. I'm your roommate. I self-assessed myself as your roommate, so the law doesn't apply to me now.
I'm not jobless. I'm an astronaut.
You are, because that's self-assessed.
None of this statement is false. This is what has been happening. It is an ever-shifting concept of a self-assessed gender identity.
It is, because didn't it start with, there were transsexuals, and then there was transgender, and then there was non-binary, and then there were all these other pronouns, and it's like, what is transgender? If someone says they're transgender. What is a woman?
Now it's an umbrella term.
But because you allowed one thing, now it's run amok to where it's not even trans anymore. It's self-IDing as the biological sex you decide to be.
Yep.
And that's what we let happen for years. Women!
Gender ideology includes the idea that there is a vast spectrum of genders that are disconnected from one sex. Gender ideology is internally inconsistent in that it diminishes sex as an identifiable or useful category, but nevertheless maintains that it is possible for a person to be born in the wrong sexed body. Gender identity reflects a fully internal and subjective sense of self, disconnected from biological reality and sex, and existing on an infinite permanent continuum that does not provide a meaningful basis for identification and cannot be recognized as a replacement for sex. Again, can I get an amen?
A woman!
Like I said earlier, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, it's true. And like, it's all make believe. Lala, I said that my vagina is a penis. It shouldn't be something we all follow. If medically it's been deemed necessary that you've gone through a sex change, then we will accommodate what's necessary as long as you're an adult. But we're not going to go with your fake pronouns and your fake bullshit and your lack of anything.
When your country's gone so far down the rabbit hole that you're forcing victims to call their rapist she and her, you've gone too far. Now you're punishing the victim for the perpetrator because the perpetrator is telling you he's something that he's not. These people are fucking nuts.
It so clearly describes this nonsense that everybody's been wrestling with. And it is one of the reasons that Trump won this election. People were tired of this stuff.
I'm sorry. I remember when we watched, I don't know if you watched it with me, where Bill Maher was interviewing John Cryer, the actor. And Bill Maher pretty much said one of the reasons why Trump won is because of the trans insanity. And John Cryer's like, no, it's because the economy. They just hate trans people, black women, black people, and women, and blah, blah, blah. And it just proves the point that liberals are fucking nuts. They don't get why Trump won. Like,
this
they
is a big
think
reason.
they know.
The trans stuff was a big reason.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of people who would normally be liberal or left-leaning that may have voted for Trump just because they don't want their daughters having to play sports with boys. They don't want their kids to have to suffer through all this gender ideology bullshit. And they may be completely liberal in a lot of other ways, but not that one very important way.
When you have to be worried about your little girl going into a locker room because she might be exposed to a penis when you don't want her to be exposed to a penis, I mean, that's fucked up. That's not fair to that parent or that little girl because a man wants to. Like, why? Why?
Not anymore.
No. A lot of it is because of the trans insanity has gone so far. Women have turned on women.
Women!
Women! Who are praising men who are pretending to be women. Oh, motherfucker. Hold on.
We women too hard.
This is what happens when I woman too hard. I click the wrong button.
This stuff. They were tired of having to walk around on eggshells around a very, 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 very small percentage of the population.
I mean, how many times have we seen videos of people who are working at a place yelling at a customer for misgendering them?
Too many times.
Or vice versa, a customer yelling at someone who is working at an establishment because they misgendered them. So many times.
How many
people
Latinos-
have seen the crazy?
How many Latinos?
Too many. Like, people have seen the crazy.
We don't want it
They
anymore.
don't like it. We think it's ridiculous.
We don't want it anymore.
And we voted.
We voted against it. You've been voted off the island.
Goodbye.
Any words for the challenger, Miss Woman?
Good luck, Heather.
Luck is for dudes.
They were also tired of getting drop-down menus with 50 different things that you could choose for a federal document. You shouldn't be able to self-ID into a women's prison as a man, particularly if you're a predator. You should not be able to self-ID at the last minute when you feel like, oh no, I'm going to be guilty. I better get into the women's prison.
The Liberals' party of women are full of penises. Their Liberal Party that is for women are for women with penises. So their women are all like penis-having people.
So men.
Yeah.
You should not be able to just call yourself a female when you're a male on your passport.
How dare you?
And all of these documents that are supposed to be identifications so that we know who people are, it makes no sense. It's incoherent. And I would say, oh, chalk it up to just adults doing what they want to do, but it's having real harm to adult women in other places where they can't defend themselves, like prisons and domestic abuse shelters and spas. And it's also having real harm on children. This is used gender ideology to justify giving these children irreversible medications, irreversible surgeries that will render them essentially unable to have babies, to have children, and also even enjoy sex at all.
When they're adults, of course. I just wanted to throw that in there.
This is why we all voted for Trump. And this is exactly why, because we knew he'd do stuff. The stuff that we expected him to do. He did what the biggest concerns were for people on that side. We don't want men and women's sports.
Yeah.
We only want people to acknowledge male and female. What you are born as is what you are. Sorry.
And they have been coming after children.
And they are
that
coming after
San
kids,
Francisco
yes.
gay choir singing, "We're coming for your children." Or how about that Pride March where they're saying, "We're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children." I mean, come on, man. You didn't think that was going to have a bad side effect? You're trying to industrialize transness, and you've invaded every orifice of America, including churches. It's like, well, does that make sense? Because you have all these men trying to get into like little girls' restrooms and locker rooms to see little girls. And it's like, well, now people are calling you pedophiles. And when the Trump administration says they're going after pedophiles, and then the LGBTQ are saying they're coming after us, it's like, you've exposed yourself. So now a lot of people think that the trans people, specifically the guys who are saying that they're women, are pedophiles. And then you see all that shit.
I would say there's a bad taste in your mouth from seeing what you've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you see the left defending it, it's like, whoa, you guys are so wrong and evil.
Like we know there are a few male to females that truly feel gender dysphoria, and that's why they transition. But based on all of the videos we see, it feels like the overwhelming majority are people who don't actually suffer and are just using this as an advantage point. And so we have no hate for the genuinely suffering gender dysphoric people. We do have hate out, however, for the
People
predators
who have taken advantage of that. Because if you don't think for a second that predatory males have not taken advantage of this, you have your head up your ass.
I agree.
Never get told this stuff, by the way. It's not anything that they realize they're consenting to. By the way, they're too young to consent to it. You can't even get a freaking tattoo until you're like...
And then they say that children can consent.
Which
and
is
it's
a-
like, you
which is a
guys-
rabbit hole, yeah.
You guys are sounding like kitty touchers. Children can't consent. This is not Iraq where they're allowing 9-year-olds to marry grown men. What are we talking about here?
You can't even get a freaking tattoo until you're like 18 years old. So... I am very grateful that people are putting a stop to this. I am very excited to see all the lawsuits coming from the detransitioners. It's common freaking sense. I don't even know. It's so crazy to me how it managed to get this far that you need an executive order being like, men are men and women are women.
I know.
Before we continue on with this video, we want you to like, subscribe. As Bridget Fennessy said, hit our bells and buttons.
Ring my bell.
Comment below and share this video with a friend.
6 years of me on this show screaming women. Women! 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 Women!
Okay.
The diagram, I love it.
The diagram. That's a vagina. That is not a man. Who says he's a woman? That is a woman. Who has a vagina? They're women.
Vagina.
It's got a big vagina.
It's the word. Use it. Also, America was sick of birthing person, chest feeder, uterus haver. Women are like, fuck you. Lesbians are being erased. They can't even have like a dating app that is just for women.
Exactly. We've been trying to get away from the men saying you just need a good deep dicking or I'm a lesbian too. We've been trying to get away from this shit for years. And now it seemed like the whole world was trying to tell us, oh, he is a woman even though he's got a dick. It's not a dick. It's just a different kind of vagina. No! We didn't want them in our f***ing spaces. We didn't want them in our lesbian nights out. We didn't want them in our lesbian bars. We didn't want them on our lesbian dating apps. And yet everyone's like, well, they're women, so you gotta date them. It's like, no! We like people with, original vaginas.
Good old fashioned.
Good old-fashioned women. Not these fake walking around trying to be all predatory, trying to shame us into dating them.
For women, or a bar where they can go that's just for women.
Her penis, you f***ing bigot.
You went too far.
And there's going to be a backlash, and these transgender advocates and activists have basically ruined it for actual legitimate transgender people who are a tiny percentage of the population.
And that's another thing. I have been seeing actual transsexuals saying that they don't consider themselves trans because trans has become like an umbrella term for predatory, creepy people doing weird shit with kids.
It has. You hear it and you get a picture now, and it's not the people that you want to support.
It's Lily Tino. People like that. Creepy.
Jeffrey Marsh.
Yeah, like creepy men. We're done.
No more invitations to the White House, I guess.
No more tits on the White House lawn. How easily we forgot about that. Or how about the 2 gay men having sex in what?
I don't
in
remember.
a government building. Like, people somehow forgot about that or just said it was, that's totally fine.
We just dismissed all of it. Like it didn't happen.
Yeah, no. It was our imagination.
They just want to go about their day and live their life.
Right.
And they were. I believe in the extended version of this document, they do, outline things like intersex and how those things are treated. These very small outlier situations that everybody loves to use in any of these arguments when they're trying to argue for why men should be allowed in women's prisons. They're not trying to erase trans people.
Right. They're just trying to put a stop to the gender ideology that has crept into all of our institutions.
I wish there was an executive order to take pronouns out of the bio.
I'm Cody. Pronouns em, er, zers, them, zers.
I like that they're there because then I know what to expect.
I know what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good warning system for those of us who are normies. Guys, this is a normie position. I speak to you, Democrats, who have learned absolutely nothing. This is a normie position. If you can come back to being somewhat normal and not completely insane, which I have my doubts about, I think you stand a chance at winning some elections, perhaps.
I don't believe it. I say no. I don't think I think the left is going to double down. I think they're going to keep losing elections. I think they're going to still continue to be crazy. I think they're beyond repair.
Unless they get a Trump equivalent on the left, it's doomed.
Like who? They would totally get rid of them.
It'd have to be.
You said men can't be women? Heaven forbid.
It
You're
would
a
have to
Nazi.
be like you said earlier, 10, 15 years down the road. But I think they have a long recovery ahead of them.
Oh my God, yeah, they would pretty much have to get rid of everybody because everybody has this woke mind virus.
They say Gen Alpha is pretty conservative, so.
Well, you'd have to be. If you're a young guy and you're Gen Alpha, do you want to eventually be able to get dates with women or get dates with faux women, fake women? Because on the left, if you're a straight guy, that means that you also like penis, as long as it's got a dress over the top of it.
Crazy.
It's nuts. Yeah, so I don't blame Gen Alpha for being like, you know what? Maybe we want a little bit of normalcy.
I guess all I'm saying is it gives me hope that maybe we will reach a moderate left again.
But then what happens to all the crazy people who are on the left right now? Where do they go? Do they stay there?
They'd become politically homeless.
Do you think?
I hope.
Do you think that someone will take over and bring the people who are in the middle or more on the right now, like us, back to the left?
I think there's a chance. Not right now, but there's a chance it could happen.
In 10 to 15 years, yeah, maybe. I don't have a lot of hope in the left, not unless they get rid of all these freaking activists who have taken over. There's activists everywhere. Teachers, doctors, psychiatrists, priests. You gotta get rid of all of them, or else you're just gonna lose forever. And the only people you're gonna have on your side are crazy people who will take advantage of you at every chance they get.
This is all true.
You lost this is mainstream. You lost the mainstream. I don't think anyone has really recognized how crazy it is that the left completely dominated mainstream culture for as long as I've been alive, and now they've completely lost it in the span of a decade.
Because they got exposed by podcasters. That's what happened.
Well, because they went too far.
Then
they got exposed.
Right, because they would show snippets. They would give you their narrative, which was all fucking fake. And then the podcasters would be like, this is what the mainstream media said. Now let me give you all of the context, the full video clip. And then people saw the reality and were like, holy shit, they're fucking lying to us. And then they kept doing it over and over and over again. And we're like, guys, we saw up your skirt. We know you got a dick. Stop trying to play like we believe you. We don't.
And they keep trying to fool us, but they can't. Beyond repair.
They lost everyone. They lost all credibility a long time ago. No one buys their baloney anymore. The only people The View have in their audience are people that they've specifically vetted to be there, and they probably are there all the time.
At this point,
they don't have any new audience members coming there. No. They got to have the ones that clap like seals. Yeah, we believe you. Everything you say. What'd you say? I don't know. We just clap. Okay.
Give
like
them
that.
more wine.
Give them more wine.
We're talking about wave after wave after wave of people being red pilled.
Yeah.
You had the first wave around Trump. They were the early adopters. You had the second wave around Kavanaugh, where a lot of people were like, wait, what? This guy is a gay, was a gay. What are you talking about?
Have you heard about the Kavanaugh hearing? He was accused of being sexually inappropriate or rape or something like that when he was young and in college and drunk. Anyway, I was still on board with the liberals at that point. I was still like, yeah, he sounds kind of creepy. I believe that chick. I was still on board with the left during that point. It was during the it's ma'am.
That's what it really
That turned me. What turned you again?
Just seeing it all in person more and more and more. The gender ideology stuff, really.
You had a big wave around Me Too. You've had wave after wave around the gender ideology stuff. You had another wave during COVID and the lockdowns and the riots and then you had more waves during the Biden administration. You had another wave when you lied about Joe Biden not having dementia. I feel like it's just kind of wave after wave of people they've lost.
That was the biggest thing for a lot of people my age and younger. It was the Biden age issue.
The media lying, saying he's the best, sharpest Biden ever.
And they can obviously see that he's barely moving, barely functional. And it's young people who saw that really changed their mind too. Plus the economy. It was really the economy that was a big boost for a lot of other people who didn't.
Well, and giving a lot of money that should have been going to people in America, going to people who came into this country illegally, who are, in fact, criminals because they did it illegally. All this money going to them. The people were like, what the hell is going on?
There's a lot of reasons.
But the Biden thing, where they're like, he's the sharpest ever.
That got a lot of young people to be very deterred from voting for him.
Yeah. And then after the debate, the next day, they're like, oh, he's got to step down. And it's like, what happened 3 days ago when you were saying he's the sharpest he's ever
the
been?
best.
Where is your backbone? Where do you lie exactly? You just lie.
It just goes to show that Biden wasn't doing much at all. It's whoever was behind him.
And the entire mainstream media industry, who was trying to convince everyone that he was fine.
Sharp as a tack.
They didn't understand how f***ing stupid they were. People could see past your bullshit, especially when it's right in your face. And now we heard what you said before. We have proof that you lied. And now you're telling us something different. And we're just supposed to believe that you are the arbiters of truth.
Right. They're here for our best interest, right?
Yeah, no. American people said that we're voting Trump.
And that's what you got.
And I guess I shouldn't be surprised that they haven't learned anything because they didn't learn anything from the multitude of waves. How many people have written books of how the left lost me? Millions of people have told you, voted with their feet, voted now with their actual vote, have written books, and still they're like, nope. I don't know. Maybe they won't learn.
I think the left is lost.
It's going to come back eventually. That's just how it works. It's not like it's going to dissolve and a new party's going to show up. You know what I mean?
Or maybe it will.
Never in American history has it. But sure, good luck.
It does. Never in American history were we saying that men are women. So anything is possible, I believe. Anything is possible.
Republicans and liberals have already switched once before. They can switch again.
It's true. But I don't think we should be having a two-party system. I
don't think we're ever going to lose a two-party system. It's always going to be kind of that way. I think that the people who run the individual parties change, but not the party itself.
Yeah.
The Democrats will come back eventually. Rebranded. Just same name. Democrat.
I think the Democrat name is just diarrhea now.
They're going to keep it. They're going to call it New Democrat or like New Libertarian.
Why don't they just use a different pronoun for Democrat?
These are pronouns, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they'll do that. And sure, they'll learn their lesson.
Bye, guys.
Have a good one.